Knock, knock. Who's at the fucking door? Oh, it's campus security. Somebody dropped the dime that we were partying in a room. Sorry, Frank. Sorry for waking you up. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Listen I'm a Barber channel, and welcome back to After Hours. Today, I want to bring in something that the shop itself has had a lot of conversation on: college. You know, it's a big topic. It's a big commitment. It's something that most people, I believe, are rushed into. And my story for you guys is kind of going to give you an example, because I completely fucked up my college situation. And when I say fucked it up, I completely fucked this up. You know, I even had, if you want to even say it, into a college I wasn't even supposed to be in. But let's take it back. No matter how much I could tell you about barbering, like I said, I didn't think that that was going to be something that was going to be what got me through life. So I did listen to everybody else in my life and decided to go down the engineering route. Since I was 5, as much as I had picked up clippers, I had also picked up pencils, pens, crayons, markers, and I really, really loved to draw. It was one of those things where that took me away, I guess, as a young kid from like some form of altered reality I was living, or however people want to really look at like their creative channels going. Yeah, while I was young, people just kind of said, maybe you should really go for this. And I was like, all right, it's what society itself says, right? I mean, Chase, is it all about society setting now, right? It's all society, you know, everybody's telling you what to do. And a lot of times you're not even really allowed to make your own choice. You know, you're pushed this way, you're pushed that way. And it's like, can I just make a fucking choice for myself for once? I felt like I was trapped amongst everybody else's thoughts. But I still felt that that was what you were supposed to do. So after I had excelled massively in my engineering program in high school, I decided to go to Philadelphia University and take the road that previous family members of mine had actually gone down. I could be completely honest with you, I didn't have the greatest grades in high school, so I could 100% say that I was only really in that college with his influence. Off the rip, you know, it's people helping me get to a better spot, which is massively appreciated. But, you know, in some certain ways, I know a lot of people have felt, you know, very misguided. You know, I didn't know I wanted to be an engineer. I didn't know I wanted to be a barber. I actually didn't fucking know anything at 17 years old, graduating high school. Like, I thought I was just doing what I was supposed to do. And I guess this is where things kind of went sideways, even though they were supposed to be going up, and, you know, life's progress was supposed to be kicking in. Forget what the weekend is called, but they bring in all the freshman students into their dorm rooms, and you get to meet and greet everybody for the weekend, and then you go home for a couple weeks, and, you know, you get ready to start the semester in September. Well, I had a buddy of mine, I think it was room 242 in the Ronson dormitory, and it was such a dope spot. We were right in the middle of all the different rooms, and I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And to give you a little bit of backstory, I got into a really stupid go-kart accident where the weekend this was all happening, I had 2 broken arms. So one was in a cast, and the other one was kind of hanging like on a sling. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a great way to introduce myself to people with 2 fucking broken arms. But the guy I was sharing the room with, we linked up, and instantly one of the coolest cats I ever met. Like, he was real open, real friendly. His name was Lubin. You know, I'll leave the first name out, but, you know, that was my dude. And we started off, you know, just kind of talking about college, and that we were both scared shitless. And it was like, I don't know what we're going to make of this situation. And holy shit, like, you're my roomie for the weekend. And it's like, oh, this is a great start. And, you know, I guess we take our test that you need to, you know, I guess place you into the position in the college. And that was one of them things where it's like, all right, cool. All that's done. It's time to party. Let's get groovy. And he told me he had a massive amount of awesome weed to smoke for the night. And I was like, sweet. Well, that drew in a lot of attention. And within 1 hour of everybody gathering, there had been a good amount of people just sitting in our room, you know, rolling up joints. And that's where my first college strike came into play. Knock, knock. Who's at the fucking door? Oh shit, it's campus security. Somebody dropped the dime that we were partying in a room. Didn't even start day one, and I'm like, fuck, it wasn't supposed to be like that. We were just having fun. You know, it was the weekend, you know, before we even made anything serious. And that was probably the first strike that kind of led me to be on the watch list for the university. Now let's fast forward. We actually get into school. And I think this is what's cool because I felt like I was going to have a fresh start. You know, first day of college is kind of stressful for anybody. You know, if you haven't been to college, you know, you're walking into a world of so many people that are from so many different backgrounds, thought processes, you know, cultures. There's so many different things that you probably have never experienced in people. You know, local stuff is, you know, you always feel like you can understand the local things going on in your community and your towns, but you know, you start to go to a different type of school where everybody from all over the world joins it. It does join multiple different perspectives. And, you know, that could be scary if you understand that, or it could be really intriguing if you're really willing to learn about it. This was how things got really bad for me. And I really had an optimistic point of view. I was put in a room with this guy from Texas, and nice kid. He was a really nice kid. I didn't really have anything against him or his style. I was just like, he's just not my type of person I'd probably hang out with. But when we met each other, he was telling me how well he was at his schoolwork, all these different things. I told him, well, I'm a very social person. I said, you know, maybe you help me with school, I could help you with, you know, party life, or maybe just socializing in any way. I'm going to have to light up for this one because this is where I guess trying to be a good person and trying to connect with people sometimes doesn't go the way you think. I genuinely thought that I was offering a friendship to my roommate because it's like, hey man, we're going to be living with each other, so let's get on the same path. Let's try to understand each other. And I thought we did for that moment. Clearly we didn't. So it's probably about a day or two, you know, we're rolling, and I found it a little odd that every night at 9 o'clock, if I was with somebody in the room, his parents would call, and they were calling him to see if he was in his room getting ready to go to bed. I realized at that moment, I was like, oh shit, this kid is still massively under the control of somebody thousands of miles away across the country. And I didn't realize how strict his life was before I had met him, or how he even got into this position. But I had a girl come over, and I remember one of the chefs in the room had actually got me a bottle of vodka for the night, and they were like, we got you covered. So I was like, cool, this is great. So I'm hanging out, we're having a couple of drinks, and next thing I know, he comes into the room and sees me and a girl as we're drinking, and he loses his shit. And I'm like, whoa, hold up. Like, what are you doing? He's freaking out. He's calling the RA. He's getting all the hall directors. I'm like, yo, you would have thought I just robbed a fucking bank. And I did not realize what type of person this was. Hey, what's up, big guy? Oh, everybody gets to see you. Here, sit down. Sit down, big guy. So, ipso facto, this fucking guy. All right, come on, sit. Come on, sit. Oh, this fucking guy with his ball. Frank, this is not the time. Not the time. Hold on. This fucking guy. Isn't this crazy, Frank? We just get started, and all you want to do is play with your fucking ball. Did he just walk away?
He did.
He really just this fucking guy. Yo, I swear to God, it's the attention, man. That's what he wants. Since you're disrupting my story now. Here, take your ball. All right. Frank derailed that one for a quick second. You know, I got like a quick laugh in my head because I had genuinely thought, like, in my life, dude, like, if you're cool with somebody, like, they're going to be cool back. I thought me kind of reaching my hand out to him saying, yo, let's be a team in this college journey as roommates, like, maybe it would go that way. Yeah, it was fucked, man. He called everybody. Like, anybody who was anybody in some type of security was actually at the door like I had done something heinously wrong. I was actually so fucking embarrassed that I was like, everybody's walking through the hallway dorms, like, looking inside the room, and I'm just sitting there like, I was having a fucking drink, you know, trying to get fucking laid. Like, it wasn't that serious of a fucking situation. It's fucking college. You know, and this kid was literally up his own fucking ass saying, oh my God, you can't do that. And I'm like, oh my God, this isn't really happening. I'm like, I'm going to get kicked out of fucking school 3 days in because this kid's never seen a fucking bottle of vodka. I don't even think he saw a pair of tits at this point in his life. The next day I had a meeting with the fucking dean's office. And I'm like, yo, we already got nabbed for partying, before the season even started. And now it's a couple days in and then this shit happens. And I'm like, fuck, man, like my parents are going to be pissed. My uncle's going to be pissed. I'm like, I'm making a really bad name for myself and I'm kind of just trying to live. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just simple shit. Like, so got my fucking blood boiled down because it's like, it was one of those things where it's like your expectations of somebody, your expectations of life, like what makes you feel the way you feel. It's like, it's all based upon an expectation. So it's like, if you expect this to happen and this does, it's like you either get the feeling that you wanted and get rewarded with it, or you're massively crucified with something you didn't even think was possible. And I'm like, fuck, man, this is horrible. Ipso facto, they kicked me out of the dorm. They didn't kick me out of school, but they were like, all right, me and this kid obviously can't be in the same realm. And where I grew up, like, people didn't do that. No one snitches, no one tattletales, and no one has their mom calling them in college at 9 o'clock at night to make sure he was in bed for the next day. It's like, this kid was under such a fucking structure. It was upsetting, like, once I got older to see, like, how much he was really not living his own life. And he was living his life through other people's expectations. But they had actually put me, they had transferred me into this room, and it was one of them quad rooms where it's like 4 people living in the same thing. And it's like, you got one guy in this corner, one guy in this corner, one guy in this corner. It's like a little area in the middle. And it's like, oh, okay, like, this is my living quarters for the next couple months, right? I love those guys. They were fucking some of the coolest people in the fucking world. But off the rip, like, they were kind of like, who's this fucking guy? It's like a couple days in, and he's the transfer kid. It's like, it's almost like at college, you can't be the bad kid. Like, it's kind of cool when you're in high school, you know what I mean? If you're busting balls and being a rebel in college, it's like, nah, the structure is like, you're that much more in line. And that was tough for me to accept, because it's like, I couldn't be an individual while I was in college. Like, I thought that was the place where you grow to understand yourself. And instead it was like, you can understand yourself as much as the college wants you to, which is kind of fucked up to a degree. Jeez, you want this? Yo, this stuff is called Death Star. And I'm really curious how this is going to pan out. But, so I'm going to speed this up a little bit, because I got into like one of those modes where I kind of understood what kind of league I was in. And I'm the kid that grew up in Blackwood, Sicklerville, like, we're like middle-class family, like, we pay the bills, we got a couple dollars, and we can live life. Going to this college, I kind of was like, I'm out of my league here. Like, I didn't have any money, I didn't have a job, and the people that I was making friends with and surrounding myself with, just in general to learn new people, all their families had money, they're millionaires, they're going to France for fucking spring break, and I'm like, I'm going back to Sicklerville to probably smoke a joint with my homies and go get some fast food and talk shit. It was such like a different dynamic. I realized when I came back from my second semester, I was like, okay, I had gotten into some rough waters. My grades weren't looking that hot. I was more concerned with, honestly, just meeting people. Like, Chase, you ever get the feeling like when you're in someone else's structure, it's like, even if you have a better way to do it, like, you're still under the command of what it is. Like, you're just stuck. No matter how creative you really want to be.
It is my least favorite thing.
Yeah. Like, structure itself is genuinely hard to understand if you can provide one for yourself. And I guess that was my own ego back in the day, that I had no clue I was still trying to be something very specific and unique in a structure that doesn't actually breed that or build that, like, whatsoever. So second semester rolls around, and when I went home, I had actually made a connection with somebody that used to sell weed. So I figured one of the best ways that I could probably go back to school with a little bit of money is, let's everybody like trying to scrape a dollar together. It's like, oh, I'll sell a little bit of weed, make a couple bucks, like, kind of get through this. Like, I felt bad kind of going to parties and, people always giving me shit like, yo, you want to join? Yo, do you want this? You want that? Like, I was always appreciative, but I always felt like I didn't want to be the leech of the group. I didn't want to be the one that they always got to look me out like I'm never contributing. I gotten caught one day. There was a spot in Philadelphia University called The Hill. And this is where everybody gathered. They all came to this one fucking spot. And it's where everybody would smoke their joints and dip from class. And it was like in this little area over by the building, no cameras. You know, it was the place to be. And I remember one day I was smoking. I had skipped class, ironically. And I had linked up with somebody on campus. I would never put them in a position to be called out right now. But I had met up with this person on campus, and it wasn't a student. And he had found out, like, I had a better connect than he did. And this is where my college experience completely took a 180 turn. I began getting stuff for this person, and it became steady. I had actually started making a couple of dollars to where I'm like, wow, this is how this works. Like, you know, some people used to say, oh, you got to hustle, you got to grind. It's like, I knew one person that was making me, at the time I was there, like some pretty good money for somebody that had none. And it had gotten around that I had things on campus, and it had sparked one of the weirdest investigations, like, in the school. When I was moved to the quadplex, the RA, or the resident advisor that was there, like, felt a little pissed off with me. I'm very loud. Like, I was very boisterous back in the day. Like, I always like to cause a scene. I was always like, not to say not taking things super seriously, but I was always having fun. You know, it was always just a good time. But I guess my good time took away from the fact that he was trying to run his whole serious, and that he took the position he was given, you know, with the utmost integrity. And I think as a young man, I didn't understand that. And I had probably insulted the ever-living shit out of this dude. You know, I had at one point made a joke inside one of our hall meetings, and I said, dude, why are you being a f***? And it was one of those things where at the time, this was back in 2008, I think. Like, no, but 2007, 2008. Like, nobody really cared if you said it, but this is where I made, like, one of the biggest mistakes. And this is why I don't really do certain things anymore. I don't call people out of their name. I won't insult you. I don't even really like to joke with my friends, you know, in that manner, because that day I realized when I called him a f***, I had no clue that he was actually gay. I had no idea what type of knife I had driven at him, like, you know, mentally. You know, I was looking at it as such a harmless thing, and then it was such a knife to him. And at that moment, he made sure that anytime I would come in and out of the halls, anytime I checked in with security, that I was double-checked, triple-checked. You know, anytime I came in drunk, they sent me right to the dean's office, just like you're some, like, irresponsible little kid, you know. All I was trying to do was just enjoy college and, you know, my way. And again, I was breaking structure. You know, it wasn't what this college was meant to do. Like, I can probably say that as arrogant as I was, I excelled heavily in the engineering class that was one of the hardest that they offered. But that was it. Everything else I failed. I failed all my math classes, if you think of anything I took, I barely went to class. Like, I didn't really give a shit. All I cared about was proving that I could be a good engineer, because I thought that's what you care about. You care about the goal at hand. You care about that type of mission. And apparently, when you're 17 and you don't know shit about the world and how structure works, you kind of go off and do your own thing. And that's what I did. At some point, they had started running an investigation, and one day when they knew I wasn't in class, there was a knock on my door. And there was a SWAT team raiding my room. And at first, I sat back and I was like, what the fuck is going on? I didn't even think anything of that moment. I was kind of just like shocked that I like woke up out of a daze. Like, there's one, I'm supposed to be in class, and here there's a bunch of fucking cops and people with dogs inside the fucking dorm room. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what did I do? And they went through not just my stuff, they went through everybody's shit. You know, you want to talk about embarrassing again? I was like, oh my God, I keep fucking this shit up. But never had anything actually in that room. I obviously, where I was coming from and who I picked my things up from, I kind of knew how to evade ways of getting caught. But It still went all through the college. Everybody in every classroom could only talk about the fact that this one guy's room got raided for drugs. And I'm like, I'm that guy. You feel me, dude? I was that fucking guy. I made thoughts in my head about this because I had like nightmares for years that I fucked it up that bad. But like I said, they didn't find anything. I had it stashed at a completely different like area of the school. But at that point, after the remark, after the drugs, after not going to class, I had actually come to like a massive realization. I was like, yo, I'm not meant to be here. You know, when you get pushed into certain situations, it's like, wait a minute, like this is not how my animal like thrives. Like I don't really work under like a good structure like that. It's like I created my own, and I had never realized like that was something nobody could take away from me. And I think getting pushed into the direction of college was kind of one of them things where a lot of people have that done to them. You know, I think a lot of us are creatives. I think more people than not are creatives. I think they have so many things that they could do. It's just they're still following somebody else's structure. And if you believe you follow it for so long, it's like, you know, you can't leave it at a certain point. And it's like, it's not true, you know? But the whole thing about expectation of what I really thought like that was going to be was me continuing my life and thinking I understood what it is I believed was going to happen, and it was completely wrong. Like my expectation was wrong. And that was like one of them checking points in life I feel some people don't get a chance to find. You know, like if you could ask yourself, like, what is your expectation of things? You know, the older I get, like the less I expect. You know, it's funny, we were talking about aliens, right, Chase? And it's like, okay, if there's aliens, like that's cool. At this point, it's like, I expect anything could happen at this point. You know, I thought that I was going to be an engineer and make a 6-figure salary and be that guy. And instead, I turned into a drug dealing jackass who never went to class and then eventually got kicked out of school. And that's, you know, I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought I was going to get through to the end, and it's like, I got kicked out. And I'm like, oh my God, they don't want me back. Like, I had massively disappointed my whole fucking family. It wasn't like I failed. Like, I just wasn't good at it. It's like, I carelessly took the situation and just like didn't prioritize it properly. You know, I kind of just took it, ran with it, you know, didn't really have much understanding of what it was going to be, you know? And I think that's kind of how like the whole entrepreneurship like turned into play. It's like, I went into college thinking that that's what everybody does to be successful. And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then I lived it exactly how I still live my life, you know, just learning the new environment. And instead, I just found I was just learning people. Like politics are the same. People still work with other people. Like everything is a giant unit. And if you're not a part of the unit or you don't want to work with the unit, you physically can't. You know, eventually you'll just destroy it at some point, or you'll destroy yourself trying to like adapt to it. You know, if it's not you, it's not you. I think that was something I just didn't understand until they said, hey, guess what? You're kicked out of college. Dude, my dad threw me through the wall inside the dean's office. Like, that was fucking bad. Like, I knew I had fucked up. Like, my pops was cool my whole life. Like, I made certain decisions. He was cool. We just kind of talked it out. I pissed him the fuck off that day. Like, I'd almost ruined every expectation he ever had in my life by getting kicked out of college when it was like handed to me, especially because I was like massively talented in architecture and engineering. Still blows people's minds. Like, that's what I used to do. And I still like to do it, ironically, but you know, again, like I now failed his expectation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I guess like the whole college thing, it kind of comes down to like, if you've gone, you don't really need it. There are so many other avenues that you could go realistically. Like if you maybe made the same mistake I did and, you know, think you made a mistake by not being in college. You know, I don't think it's anything that people should feel obligated to do if they don't understand it. And I think that was my issue with college. Like, I only went to college because I believed that was what I was supposed to do, and that was what society was telling me to do. But at the end of the day, like, I was born to do this shit. I was born to create. And I believe almost all of us are here to create. Like, we're all so unique as individuals that it sometimes like opens my eyes to see that it's like, whoa, hold on. Until you step out of the structure mentally and see it from like a third perspective, like, you only stay understanding like the environment provided for you, you know, and it's limited to so many different ways. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking insane. But it was nuts, man. And I feel bad too, because all the different things, you know, people had led me down that road, and I was like, I can't work with people. Like, it taught me I couldn't trust people. And it was weird because it was never a chick that got me that way. Like, I couldn't trust somebody. It was never like a friend particularly. Like, first off, it was just like a structure. It's like I was pushed to do something to where it's like, well, I don't believe in this, but I have to try. And it just didn't make sense, you know? But I don't know, man. This is like one of those things where, I guess, like, if you think about it for a second, like, as I'm like actually telling myself this story in full, you know, like, there were so many times I tried to blank this out. Like, this is actually, you want to hear something funny? This is the only thing I ever had nightmares on. Like, I never had a nightmare in my life other than failing college and like disappointing the family. That was fucking, like, that was it. And it's weird because that was such a hard lesson to learn that that's how I gauged on how hard to work for like my entrepreneurship. Like, if I really was going to destroy a structure, it's like, I better be wise enough to create one of my own. And 15 years later, it's like, took some work, but we got here. It takes ups and downs. You know, you go backwards, you go forwards, you go so many different fucking ways in entrepreneurship. And it's like, at least it's your life to live. Like, college made me always feel like I was still living somebody else's dream. And it's nothing against people that go to college, but like, in a realistic spec, like, let's just take away the finances for a second. Let's really just go into like what it does. It puts like that beautiful machine you have in your head away. And it says, oh, you can't use this all the way. You know, it's like you can only go here, 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 and here. The world is so big from so many perspectives. And it's like college just limits you into going like one linear direction or a little bounces back and forth. And I was like, that's not the world. I realized as soon as I got to college and saw all these different people, I'm like, well, once we leave college, like, all these people are going to disperse. So that's how many worlds are out there. You know, it goes back to like the whole fucking multiverse thing. I think that's why I love being a barber, because like the multiverse itself like started from college. Like, I had talked to so many people like cutting hair already, but like college, it brought it full force. Cutting the basketball team, a couple people on the soccer team, like just different people in the hall. Like I said, my RA didn't like me too much because I had like a lot of influence with certain people. Like, I was always in good graces with people, sometimes better than most. I think it comes down to, if you're not in college anymore, maybe you're looking for a job or you're looking for an opportunity, you know, there's so many options out there. There's so many options to kind of go out and, you know, you just got to explore. You have to feel open to anything. You have to talk to anybody. You know, you can't be scared of rejection. I was probably scared of rejection up until I realized, like, it's just in numbers. It's not in the job. It's not in the goal or the objective or however you want to call it. It's more or less just in like giving yourself the opportunity to try every single way. You know, there's like, oh, there's only one way to do something. It's like, absolutely fucking not. Like when my mind opened up to that for the first time, it's like, wait, everything has every way you can do it. It's like, what are they? Some are more efficient for others. Like, some believe this to be this. Like, as humans, I think we go deep to where our minds are just like an algorithm that just kind of grow at some point. And wherever it grows, it's like, how many limitations did you put on yourself as you were growing? You know what I'm saying, Chase? Like, I think the entrepreneurs are the ones who were like, no, wait, we're actually still going. Like, we're still figuring this out, you know? Like, we weren't given a structure super early, I guess, in a sense. Like, I saw a structure early and knew it wouldn't work. So it's like, all right, well, this is going to be an interesting road. And now 15 years later, it's like, I could sit there and say, I wish anybody give it a shot, but just, you know, the goal and the value comes so much later, you know, but like later comes. Do you know what I mean? Like later always comes. Like I remember we were in the barber shop one day and this guy was like, yo, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I was like, me? I'm like, honestly, I wanted to cut hair. And it was just like, that was easy for me. And this guy was like, oh, okay. He's like, I wanted to be a doctor. And I'm like, how come you're not a doctor? He was like, well, I thought it took too long. Yeah, it was like 10 plus years of school. And I'm sitting there listening to him and I'm like, oh, I hear that. I actually didn't really even understand like what he was trying to explain to me at the time. And he's like, I'm 38 now. I would have been a doctor. And when he told me he would have been a doctor at that moment, I was like, yeah, dude, from a logical perspective, like I understand that. I couldn't feel his emotion, but I know that hurt deep because he actually would have saw himself being something. And if he took that shot that day and actually made the choice, it's like, yo, those years pass. Like you can be that guy. And now that the time did pass, he has a regular job. He's not excited with life. He's not depressed with life. He's just accepting. I think we all accept life as we need to at a certain point. But, when you limited yourself through other structure, it's like you can only merely get so excited about life. Like I get excited to do new things, not the same thing over and over and over and over and over. I think that's where, we've talked a little bit about like the entrepreneurship. It's like, hey, we could hit a big score here. We could have a slow week here. We could do all this. Like it's such an ever going thing to where you're never used to how like you're not used to it. It's constantly being on your toes. And it's like, when you're constantly on your toes, you're constantly living. Like I watch people's lives like die at like 30 because at 30, they just go work, do this. And then that's it. That is all they have. And they like pray to find something good in their life. And that's depressing. That's like the hardest part about sometimes this podcast is like, I would never want to like offend certain people, but it's like there is such a mindset out there that people are looking for. And it really is just in like their own like independence, being able to understand like what those chains are. Like it's very difficult.
That's why I always say the secret or the answer is traveling.
Yeah.
When I traveled and I did an extended period of travel, it kept me on my toes, kept my mind moving, kept everything that you're saying, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it helped growth.
I mean, I forget what episode you
forces you.
Yeah, you're right. It is a force. It's like one of those things that you have to experience it, And I think at a certain point in my life, I was scared to like try new things. It could have been something small, like going to a new restaurant. I just didn't want to break my routine. I think like my routine was keeping me at least just sane or to some degree like progressive. I think that's a crock of shit to myself at this point, trying to find something that just gets you through. And it's like, at some point you're just doing the same thing over and over and over and over. Like the brain itself starts to bog out. Like, I think I get to points where like I ask people how they do certain things and every single one of them tells me they drink. And I'm like, see, now that's like another thing where when I put the drink down, I started getting more mad about things that I was doing. Like I wasn't taking the leap on, like I wasn't actually changing certain things about my life. I was like, I would just have that drink just to say, oh, it's cool. It's like something you accept. And it's like, I think that's like a big part of like how my life kind of grew to some point. It's like accepting something and understanding it became that became like a prize to understand why something happened as opposed to like what happened. Everybody's got like this idea where like they want to know what happened. It's like, I don't want to know what happened because that's what everybody knows. I'm trying to understand like why it happened. Like why was my RA in college like so mad at me? You don't know it until, you see it from like a different perspective. It's like the older I'm getting with all these people I talk to, I'm like, dude, I feel fucking 60 sometimes. Like I'm not even really in a realm where like I'm even able to communicate certain things to the people that are like my age, because I've actually found interest in like the deeper parts of life. Like it's very cool to, be somebody that has talked to so many older people, not just one set of grandparents, if you were blessed enough to have them, or, you know what I mean? Like age is an amazing lesson because it doesn't matter like what you did through your life. Like the time on this earth is fucking crazy when it's compounded every day. And mind you, yeah, you can live the same life like every day, which is something like I never wanted to do, like the whole monotonous job thing. But like, if you spend enough time on this earth, like you learn shit. Like you learn enough to where it's like you enjoy the journey. Like I think when you stop learning shit, like that's when the journey starts to suck. You know, it's like, oh, I'm not learning shit no more. It's like I'm depressed. Like what's going on? It's like gotta live a little bit, gotta learn a little bit. You gotta open the mind a little bit.
Saying that goes
with the traveling.
Yeah, that goes back to the traveling. It's literally the answer. It forces you every day, especially the way I traveled. It was very shoestring.
Yeah, dude. You actually travel extremely efficient.
I did it cheap, but when you do it like that, like it's not luxurious at all, but forces you on your toes. And that makes it not only fun, but then I look back and that was some of the happiest times of my life. And there's a reason. Those reasons are everything that you're saying.
Yeah. I feel like just kind of understanding it after so much time was like, it was like therapy. You know, seeing so many perspectives from everybody, it's like, it was something I wanted to do in college. And I think maybe that's what sparked, like, instead of going the engineering route, like I went barbering, because I kind of sat there and said, I love cutting hair, but I don't think that's going to be how I do this. You know, like everybody in my family had done something cool in my eyes, you know, not just financially, but like, you know, they did something like with respect. You know, I kind of grew up with like a really, really tough skinned family. And like, I really appreciate that now in my life. You know, that's like the one thing that worked really well for me, because the things that they did, they always had people that praised them. Like they did good things. And I'm like, that's awesome. I wanted to do that. And I thought I was going to do that in engineering, but I always realized like in a formal, like I've already been doing it, like action, it was barbering. And that's what like sparked it. I always wanted to know why the kid ratted on me that day when I had the girl like in the room. I'm like, why did he rattle me that day? Like all I cared about was like, you know, having a good time, still getting through my shit. But, you know, when he brought the whole security in there, I was like, yo, dude, oh my God. That was it, man. You start seeing everything you're either given or worked hard for just like go away so fast. And it's like, fuck, man, you didn't know that was the choice you made. You know, like assumptions and expectations, like they're so different, you know? That was the college experience, man. It's one of those ones that like actually shaped me into going, fuck, man, you can't trust people. You got to be cautious of what you say, you know, and you got to understand the structure you're operating in. You know, like those are three big things I learned in college. You know, that and strap up. That's definitely a big one. Definitely got to strap it up. That was a savior.
Divine strap it up. You mean strap it up or like strap it up? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, man. If there's anything I could say now, like condoms save lives, like they really do.
That kind of strap.
Yeah, you gotta strap it up, man.
What strap are we talking about here?
Strap up. You know, if you're actually looking to build a connection and like create that with a woman, like create that raw, intimate moment if you're not going to use a condom. You know what I'm saying? That's like a really weird topic we're on, but like, yo, I ain't got no kids, man. Like, that is the one thing, like, I ain't got no kids. And in this fucking day and age, it's like, like, I can't wait to be a dad, but shit, dude, this is going to be a whole nother segment on kids. I'm going to stop this right now. College was cool. College was a great experience to understand people for me, and I would never take it away. You know, the piece of paper that I was looking for clearly didn't define my life. So I always knew like life can be in my hands. And if I make the right choices, it'll go in the right direction. And, you know, I think anybody that is in that stuck state of mind, like you can make a choice, you know, and when they say do your research, it's more than just go online and look. It's, you know, do your research, like think spiritually in yourself if you'd want to do something. You know, talk to somebody that's doing it, like really understand like a choice you're about to make, like talk to somebody who has also made that choice. That's what makes the decision a lot easier. But thanks for tuning in, guys. College is either for you or it's not. But you know what? Either way, you're not fucked. Cheers.